Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Taylor Combaluzier, a mining analyst at Red Cloud Securities, Inc. Today's webinar focuses on South Atlantic Gold, Inc., a recently transformed gold explorer. The company's flagship asset is the Pedra Branca project, located 280 kilometers inland from Fortaeza in Brazil. The company also holds the over 4,000-hectare Big Kid property located near Aspen Grove in British Columbia. Today I have on the webinar with me Doug Morales, CEO, President, and Director, as well as Marcelo Badalocci, Senior Exploration Manager at South Atlantic Gold. The format of today's webinar will be comprised of two parts. In the first part, Doug will provide an introduction to South Atlantic Gold, including an overview of the ongoing work at the company's Pedra Branca project in Brazil, as the company completes an earn-in agreement with Jaguar Mining. And Doug will also go over the geology and what catalysts are on the horizon for the company. In the second part, we'll take questions live. So please send us your questions via the chat and we'll get to as many as we can. You can type your questions in at any time throughout the webinar. To start, we'll handle the disclosures and then get into the presentation. For South Atlantic Gold, there may be some forward-looking statements made on this call. I would direct listeners to the cautionary note on page 2 of the South Atlantic Gold corporate presentation located on the company's website. For Red Cloud Securities, Inc., I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. And we note that this call does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own professional advice before investment. Please see our most recent research located on our website for South Atlantic Gold specific disclosures. So now I'll turn it over to Doug to update you on South Atlantic Gold and what investors have to look forward to with this company.
Thanks, Taylor. Glad to be here. Thanks everyone for joining. Thank you for your time. So South Atlantic Gold, we are, as it is, an exploring company. We're exploring high-grade gold and copper in Brazil and Canada. Going forward, as Taylor said, I do recommend you do your own personal research. There might be some forward-looking statements here. So what is South Atlantic Gold? What are we doing here? We have two assets. One is a copper porphyry asset here in British Columbia in Canada. The other one is the Pedra Branca earn-in agreement that we have with Jaguar Mining. It's a very large property over there. It's about 39,000 hectares, and it's on the northeastern side of Brazil. We do have a very interesting capital structure, and what I mean by that is look at our share price right now. It looks very interesting the way it is. We are well financed for the phase 1 exploration that should be completed shortly here. We do have some stable and supportive shareholders that's been with us actually ever since before I joined. They've been with us steadily and also participating on the financings of this company. We are trading currently, if you look at this little graph here, and I just wanted to, I know that some of people here are some of our shareholders are new to gold, some of our shareholders are even new to this market. So what we have currently valuation is basically what we had prior to Pedra Branca. So as it is, it sits at a very, very interesting opportunity. One of the things I like to highlight about our company and also any company is not only about assets, but if you have a well-managed company, they will have a very high chance of succeeding. And the reason I say this is because companies, they face challenges on every day, every month, every year. There's challenges upon challenges. And if you have an experienced team, if you have an experienced board, the chances of you overcoming those challenges are very high. So I just want to give a little bit of overview here. So I come from another company called Equinox Gold. This is a company well known in the gold market. I was there with the Arizona project for a little bit over 6 years, and I participated on the expansion of the mine. I participated on the shutdown, on going to care and maintenance, having to reduce everything, and then consolidate it into track mining, amalgamate it, and put it back into production. So everything. It was a lot of challenges, but we were able to overcome every step of the way. We also have here with us Therese Giselmans. She's very, very experienced as a CFO and corporate secretary, like over 34 years of experience, dealt with many stock exchanges. We also have Marcelo Battiloshi, who is also joining me here on the call, on the webinar. He has over 30 years of experience, but one of the interesting things here is he worked for many large companies in Brazil. And what does it mean is when you work for large companies, you usually have very high or a lot of volume in the budget for exploration. And that means that Marcelo has been pretty much everywhere in Brazil, working every single different project. So it's very fortunate for us to have him on our team. We also have here Ann Height as part of our executive team. I met Ann Height during our Luna Gold days. She's our VP Investor Relations. She's participated there with me throughout the Luna Gold days, and also when we became like track mining and so on and so forth. On our board, we do have some very experienced individuals here. Bruce Hickson Smith, he has almost 40 years of experience. He has some experience in the capital markets. He's been during the early days of RCF, Resource Capital Funds, and before he retired, he was with Golden Star for many, many years. We also have Oliver, who is a geologist. He's knows a lot of British Columbia. Has been involved with our Big Kid project even before I joined the company. Mark Leduc, I've met him during the Luna Gold days. He's a mining engineer, and it's interesting because he's been involved in the Arizona project that went into Equinox, and then with Newcastle that merged also into Equinox. So we've been working closely together for some years now. Antenor Silva, best known for his position with the Yamana Gold. He co-founded Yamana Gold many years ago, and he was with them until he retired in 2015. So he took a company that was very low valuation up to multi-billion-dollar company. And we also have Nanmo Su. He was one of the board directors that was sitting with Julian Resources before we changed our name. He's an investor, and he's been actively participating in the company here with us. So what are we looking here? What is South Atlantic Gold and what we're doing? So when I stepped in this company, and it was basically in May last year, it was a shelf company. It had a Big Kid project, but it was a shelf company, and it had a very low market valuation. So when I stepped in, I said, well, we got to look at the proper asset for the level that the company is. So I did, in July, I stepped in as a CEO. We did other management changes there. We negotiated the Pedra Branca earn-in, and once we did that, obviously there was a very big step for Julian Resources, and with that, our shares were on hold for almost 2 months. Well, actually a little bit over 2 months. So it was an incredible step for the company at the time. We did mobilize very quickly. So as soon as we had the approval, we mobilized very quickly. We opened an office, we hired teams, we got the drill rigs on site. It was very, very interesting if you consider that we're working on the north side of Brazil. For the people that know Brazil, especially in the northern area, it is challenging It is challenging to mobilize. It is challenging to execute. One of the interesting situations that we have here is once we rebranded the company to South Atlantic Gold, we added a new board. We started getting some very, very interesting results for Pedra Branca. And we decided that we're going to stay on target with Pedra Branca with our $1 million expenditures here to get and push as far as we can on the phase 1 exploration program. So what do we expect and what's new here? We expect to actually put out a resource model for Pedra Branca. We're working on that right now. And with what we were able to identify for Pedra Branca, it is very pleasing to see that we might be able to put this resource model out. We also expect to complete the earning of Pedra Branca, and that should come in the next 2 to 3 months here. And there's a line here what I put for the next quarter, which is continuously add shareholder value. So this comes back to what I said is we're continually looking at options for Big Kid, options for Pedra Branca, other asset options. So it is another challenge. It is very much tied with our market capitalization, but it is something that I am constantly looking to Brazil for all these unlocked opportunities that are in country. So Pedra Branca is on the northeastern side of Brazil. You can see the little star here on this map, and it is a very, very large area. Okay, we're talking about 39,000 hectares. Okay, and it's a project that's located on the Ceara State. And for those of you who doesn't know, Ceara has its capital, which is Fortaeza, is the 5th largest city in Brazil. It has 2.6 million people, and 200 kilometers to about the south of that, that's where Pedra Branca is. Pedra Branca itself is surrounded by a few smaller towns, which they're still considerable. So Pedra Branca itself has a population of 42,000. Boa Viagem, which is 40 kilometers away, is 52,000. So we do have access, and actually one of the reasons that we were able to mobilize quickly is because of the availability of the workforce nearby. It has a highway that crosses the project, and people that know Brazil, this is something that is not usual. Obviously, there are some projects in northern Brazil and some exploration projects that you can only get there by unpaved roads, to put it mildly. So, but we have a highway right there, and there's power lines nearby. There's some water availability, and again, as I said, most importantly is labor availability. So. Our earning agreement with Jaguar, when we started negotiating this deal, we needed to make something work for Julian Resources at the time, and we think that the deal that we got with Jaguar is excellent. So what we got to do is $1 million expenditures on the ground to have a 75% earn-in, and if we can put out a resource 43-101, so a technical report out there, we'll be able to increase that to 100%. Jaguar has a 25% buyback for about 2.5 million, which is 2.5 times the exploration expenditures that we have. One of the interesting things I want to highlight, and I'm going to put up the whiteboard here. It's this map here, okay? These are the tenements, okay? And if you notice, right in the middle here, there's 3 tenements that are under mining stage, okay? And keep this in mind as I go forward on this presentation, please. This is a graph that a lot of companies that are exploration or mining companies that are on the northeastern side of Brazil, they like to put this graph out, and I think this is the best way to show it. So this is during the Pangea times. This is the geotectonic context of Pedra Branca. West Africa is known for its very interesting and very large mines. So because the northeastern side of Brazil is underexplored, as so as everywhere else in Brazil, Brazil is an underexplored country with a lot of potential. We always like to show the connection that we have with Brazil and Africa. So Pedra Branca is located in an area that we were able to identify. It's part of the same fault that rolls into the Nigeria Shield. So it's basically the Nigeria goldfields here. And if you are interested in browse the internet, you'll see that the mines that are attached to it. So it's only this is what we call as a linkage to potential and future operations that northeastern Brazil might have. Talking a little bit about the regional geology here. What we want to put out here is basically show that the Troia Pedra Branca complex here in the province of Borborema, it's comprised of granite greenstones. Okay, so the belt that we have here that crosses Pedra Branca is mostly of granite greenstone and granite gneissic terrain. So it's if you look close by, there's also another project which is 40 kilometers to the east. It's from Valor Resources, and we've been interpreting the local geology here and reanalyzing, remodeling, and see to identify what exactly is there in Pedra Branca. Okay. One of the things I want to highlight, the local geology. This map here is obviously a MAG survey, so we took this from the CPRM Brazil. It's CPRM is the public geology service of Brazil. It's basically a government entity, and what they did is they survey a lot of areas of northern Brazil. So this is not a very high resolution, but as everybody likes to see, there is some very, very interesting anomalies crossing Pedra Branca here. And it's one of the most interesting things here on Pedra Branca is as we did some trenching, we noticed that the hard rock is right there. So it's pretty much exposed. Like I put a small little picture here to show it to you, so you can see that there's rocks pieces around it. This is interesting to show that whatever we're doing here and trenches is one of the tools that we're using to work with the geology is demonstrating that there isn't a lot of saprolite there. So it's a very dry region, and every time it rains, it basically washes out the rock. So you're not left with a lot of saprolite there. Okay, so there is some interesting potential here that we're working on, and it's actually very exciting from the results that we're getting. This graph is currently on our website, okay, and I want to bring this one to attention because on the next little while here, as we're working on the reconsolidating the data and working on the new models, we're going to be putting out some new interpretation, probably on our estimated 4311 here, some reinterpretation of the local geology. Okay, so keep in mind that what we have on our website is always evolving, always progressing. We're always adding new information. When we got Pedra Branca and we started looking what they had, the three mining concessions that they have three areas there, three tenements that are under mining concessions. And once we got a hold of this, we said, well, this is probably something that we can't use for 4311 purposes, and it's probably historical work that is mostly lost. in our case, because most of this work was done by Jaguar Mining, so therefore a company that's already used to mine, they actually did a very good job. Like I even put a picture here of the core shack. We decided that it was the best course of action was to see if we could bring what's there into a 43101 level. So validate the historical work that was done. And we didn't want to take any risks, okay? We actually just decided to re-assay the entire mineralized cores that we could identify from Jaguar. And our last press release, we put that out. Like we were very successful there. And what does it mean? What does it mean that we're able to validate historical work? So everything that Jaguar did is now going to be part of a potential geological model that we're working on. So, you know, all these 90 holes over about 9,000 meters of diamond drilling, we're going to be able to utilize part of that into our new resource model. You can see that from the historical portion here, it was worked. I mean, this has been with Jaguar since 2009, and they did some work in this area. But Jaguar, there was a period there where they didn't apply so much cash into this exploration, so they did a lot of initial work here during the early years, and they stopped. So we had to spend quite a bit of time into reconsolidating the database here. And this is data that we publish. It's out there, but I would just want to highlight that some of these diamond drill holes are quite interesting. But one of the main points here that I want to bring is they weren't very deep. So there were 90 holes. They're very shallow, okay? So the maximum depth was about 250 meters. So, and because we're just hitting the hard rock, remember I told you we don't have a lot of saprolite there, so we're just drilling, we're getting to the hard rock right away. We're able to identify that some of these results and the way that they actually put out the reserves for the National Mining Agency purposes is actually something that's sound. So I do encourage you to look at these results later on. What we are doing right now for Pedra Branca is we identified, so what we did is we took some prospective targets here and say, well, we got 3 well-defined targets, okay? That's Mirador, Cuevas Queimadas, and Igrejinha. And we added a few other targets around it. And it's a very large area. So if you look at this little map here, you can see that we're only focusing on the northern part of Pedra Branca. And that's a way of being efficient in the way that we spend our money. So, I mean, there's a lot of potential out there. But Cuevas Queimadas, so talking a little bit about the target here, Cuevas Queimadas is where the reserves were declared for the A&M purposes. You know, I like to, I need to always remember everyone here that this is not 4311 compliant, but they did put out, I think it was 100,000 ounces reserves there with the work that they did for A&M. Very consolidated work. And what we're doing right now is, as we you can see all the work that's being done here. We got the red dots here. They are RC drill holes. We got the trenches. There are basically the gray little areas everywhere here throughout this area. We're able to identify that there is a potential to start connecting all these little trends here into one major potential ore body. So it's really exciting, but by how far we're able to push the $1 million exploration program. So it's what I said, it's all about being efficient. One of the early studies that we made here is you can see some connections between Cuevas Queimadas and Igrejinha. Both are sulfide gold mineralization, and they're magnetite rich. So you can see that because Pedra Branca is over a 40-kilometer trend, there is some variation going on into all these targets, but they don't vary too much. Like, for example, the fresh rock is exposed throughout the whole Pedra Branca on the initial studies that we made. Igrejinha targets, okay, I just want to talk a little bit more about the targets themselves. Igrejinha target was a new discovery, okay? And what's been interesting for Pedra Branca right now is I've been looking at these results that we put out, and I did some ratio here. Pretty much 3 every 4 RC holes that we put on the ground came back with positive assay results. So, I mean, quickly, as we put the RC outs in Igrejinha, we're able to identify, wait a second, this is a new discovery. And you can see that from the results that we're having here, they're very initial, they're very preliminary. I mean, we're not stating anything here at the moment, but when you intersect 29 meters at 0.73 grams per ton gold, and even 10 meters at 4 grams per ton, these are trenches. I mean, these are very, very interesting results. So you can see that we're even looking to define here on our map the new ore zone of Igrejinha. So never forget that RC drill rig, they have a limited maximum depth. In our case, what we're doing is very, very shallow drilling. So a maximum of basically 60 meters. So if you look at all these fresh exposed rock, we're going up to 60 meters and we're done. We stop right there. So as I said, we're trying to be as most efficient as we can with the cash that we have. And I think that from the results that we're getting, I think this is a job well done. Quelhas Queimadas target, this is the area to the south here. You can see that's this is very interesting defined zones here. So the green dots are basically dots, they're a diamond drill hole here on this map that were done by Jaguar. So these are pretty much the ones that we re-assayed and were able to validate as our last press release. And the red dots, and you can see the trenches that we're doing here, those are mostly our work here. And one of the things I want to highlight is that, again, even the diamond drill here, they didn't go too deep, but the results that they found were really, really interesting. Like 12 meters at 7 grams per ton, another one for 12 meters at 5 grams per ton. I think there's a lot of potential to do some more high density drilling here in the future, but so far it is looking very, very interesting. And what is sitting there with A&M for the mining concession seems to be very sound. The way that Quelhas Queimadas is right now, when we identify, there are basically 2 parallel trends here, 2 parallel zones. They're about, Quelhas Queimadas itself, it's about 1 kilometer of extension. These zones here is about 500 meters. They're about 6 meters of wide. So it is very exciting, and it makes Pedra Branca as it is with what it looks like, very potential small deposits. I mean, we're looking to where we're going to get with the current exploration program. And what is the current exploration program? Okay, the phase 1 program is something very that we did. It's very limited. Okay, but it did had and it still has a lot of potential. So we had to pretty much complete the $1 million exploration program, and we followed the recommendations that we did on the 4311 we put out back in August last year. So we decided to revalidate some of the historical drilling. We did that. We put some new holes into the ground. We actually did about 7 kilometers of RC drilling. We did over 10 kilometers of new trenches out. And for those of you who doesn't know here, trenches, they're pretty much horizontal holes. Okay, so right on the surface, you open a trench, and they're it's like a drilling, but you're doing them very, very close to the surface. So their maximum depth is usually 4 meters. Okay, and what I expect to do to complete the phase 1 is pretty much complete the $1 million expenditure. So complete the earn-in. And now with the news of possibly doing a resource modeling. So if we are successful doing that, we should be putting out the new resource model between early second quarter this year. So very, very exciting times to come. The other project that we have, and this is one that we inherited from Julian Resources, is called the Big Kid. And Big Kid is a corporate porphyry project here. It has some corporate gold mineralization here, and it's on an area that's about 4 hectares. Okay, so I did put here the old map from Julian Resources. And Julian Resources, what they did is they've earned in on this, they've got the agreement on this project, and they did a 2019 exploration program where they put out, I think it was 9 diamond drill holes, and they were able to intersect some very, very interesting results. But that was back in 2019, and it was during a time that these type of intersections, this type of greenfield exploration wasn't getting a lot of traction for the market, as the gold price was incredibly low. But that all being said, Big Kid is something that we want to bring into our horizon throughout the year 2021. We haven't made any decisions yet as to what we're going to do with Big Kid. We might farm it out. We might raise some cash to continue drilling. We're going to see how far we can get to Pedra Branca and then understand what's going to be our plan for the next financing here. But you can see that some of these zones that were identified in Big Kid, and this is a well-known story for people that have been following Julian Resources, they have some very, very nice indications. Although this is a much earlier, this is a very early stage product than Pedra Branca, it has a lot of potential to be a very interesting copper asset. You can see here, I put on this graph here, this is basically the last exploration program, 2019. And one of the surveys that was made identified a huge anomaly in BC. This is something that's not usual, okay? But when we put this into context, and I always like to make comparison with the companies and assets that are around us, if you look at the Kodiak Copper results recently and what they have identified and reinterpreted on the region, it just makes Big Kid more and more attractive. So again, it's what I said, it's something that we will be paying attention as throughout the year 2021. We are very focused right now into Pedra Branca, but we do expect to make a decision on Big Kid throughout this year. So let's put here as what's a summary here. So our current market valuation is incredible at this point. I mean, as low as it is, because it just makes the entry point for current shareholders and new shareholders an added on and continue valuation to what the potential of this company that's going to be. So if you think about on next investments and why invest in South Atlantic Gold, is if you get in the earlier that you get, and we think that we are at a very, very early stage valuation, the more you're going to be able to add value as we progress to our clear and future goal here, which I'll talk a little bit more in a second here. Our assets, it's what I said, they look amazing. Pedra Branca is looking to be much more than we expected. We do expect to have our maiden resource estimated in the second early Q2 2021, and it's what I said before. It's companies are about leadership. So you might have, as you've seen many times, you might have the best asset in the world. If you don't have the right leadership, you're not going to be able to unlock the potential there. So we think we have the right management for the stage that we are and to progress to our goal. And what is our goal here? And what are we proposing for our shareholders? If you look at our board, if you look at my history, if you look at what we're doing, you can see that we're actually developers, we're miners. And that is our goal. So we're looking to bring what are the assets that make sense for Pedra Branca and escalate that, continuously add shareholder value until we achieve that goal. And once we get there, we're going to have new goals. But that is our goal right now. So I want to thank everyone for joining. I'm going to pass along for Taylor here. We're going to have a small Q&A session. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Doug. That was a very comprehensive presentation. So yeah, now we will start the Q&A portion of the webinar. And a reminder to everybody on the line that you can type in your questions to the chat at any time now. Okay, so I guess maybe, one of the questions, if you could just, I know you did touch on this, I guess what work and payments remain outstanding to get that 100% interest for Pedra Branca?
Very good question. So we're at about the last release that we put out on our financials. I think we were at about 30%, but right now we're on a steady expenditure rate. So we do expect to reach the $1 million at some point in early Q2 as well. So we're going to have some very, very interesting milestones for the company. So the $1 million expenditures get us to 75%. So it's not 100%, it's 75%. The remaining 25% is actually what we're doing as something that we weren't expecting, but I think what we're going to be able to do is put out the 43-101 resource model. So that will get us to 100%.
Okay. And so I guess maybe if we could expand just on kind of coming up in the near term, what are the key catalysts? Like obviously you're totally focused on getting that technical report out to work on that. But have you completed all the drilling that you intended to do for that, or is there more drilling to come?
Very, very good question. So actually, when you look at there's two aspects of Pedra Branca. One is, as I said, there's the mining concessions that we have, and the other aspect are the exploration tenements that are around it. And for people that understand Brazil, you notice that the exploration tenements that are around it are on final exploration stage. And what does it mean? It means that we have to complete our drilling, complete our exploration studies, and submit a final report and go into a mining concession stage. And if we look at that approach from a 43-101 perspective, there's a lot of work to be done, especially consider the massive area that Pedra Branca is. So what we're doing right now is, as we complete the earning agreement, and our focus was the drilling to possibly add a resource model. So focus very much on the Coelho's Queimadas target, the Igrejinha target. So that was our drilling, and that one is pretty much completed. We're waiting on some laboratory results, and we're actually we're always publishing some of the results that we find, but as we get them. But as everybody knows, laboratories right now they're being affected by the pandemic, so they're taking their sweet time in producing their results, and that's our biggest challenge that we have to overcome to be able to produce those results into it. But just to consolidate everything here into one answer is we are doing some more continuous exploration work, but these are just surface analysis, so not a lot of expenditures in the other areas, and this is pretty much to maintain our licenses active.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I guess with that, you did mention you do have those kind of key targets outlined. Do you feel you have enough to keep you busy, or are you going to be looking for making new discoveries and identifying new targets going forward?
I think there are many targets to be discovered. This is my opinion. I think just the way that Pedra Branca is and the little space that we're focusing our exploration, and it's what I said, pretty much every drill rig that we put out there, every hole that we put out there has been hitting mineralization. So, I can't say how our next phase might look like, but there is tremendous potential for Pedra Branca. And if you consider, one of the other points I want to bring up is, if you consider mines that are operating in the northeastern side of Brazil, a lot of these mines are basically the size of one of our targets, just one of our targets. And they have like 5-6 years of mine life. We have multiple targets, and just on the northern area of Pedra Branca. So there's a lot to be done, but there's also a potential future for Pedra Branca that, if everything checks out, if we keep on our target, we might be going to development at some point in the future. We'll see.
Okay, and this question might be good for Marcelo. I guess maybe if you could expand on what the opportunities are to expand mineralization at Pedra Branca. I know Doug touched on the fact that a lot of the drilling has been shallow, but I guess what is the style of mineralization, and how does it behave?
Okay, we are in a greenstone belt sequence. We have seen in the field high continuity of the ore. The mineralization is stratabound, and we now we are doing the sections, the interpretation, the first wireframes for the mineralization, and based on this, we are going to make the plan to drill deeper. We don't have the length of the drill holes, but we expected 200 meters, and we are going to make some deep holes like 500 meters to intercept the mineralization. Based on these shallow drill holes, each 4 drill holes, 3 of them we intercepted at least 1 meter of mineralization. And then this is our expectation. The other thing, we have some folds, as you've seen in the map, that we are going to pursue this ore body. Maybe we are going to make some additional geophysics, some resistivity and cargability in the tail, and this is still open. We are interpreting, we are consolidating the data of this first phase to define the strategy.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the things I like to add there also, Taylor, is that just reminded me here, it's one of the things that we put on a press release. It's just a small phrase, but the reports that we've looked at the geology there is most of this mineralization for Pedra Branca is open. Like they say, it's open laterally, is open to depth, is open to extension. So there's a lot of potential everywhere. Right?
Okay. And I guess kind of with that is, I know I've asked you this before, and, all the drilling that's been done, there's never been any assays that have been done for PGMs on the property. Is the geology similar, or style of mineralization similar to the Pedra Branca project owned by Valor, which is next door?
What do you think on that, Marcelo?
Okay.
We discussed this a little bit on the mineralization being similar to Valor.
Yes. Because I I was expecting you answer, but yes, we have planned now. We started this exploration program with $1 million of cash, and we are taking samples. In the core shack, there are a lot of samples that we will send, not all, but to the ultramafic and some ultramafic rocks mainly. We are going to send to the lab for the multi-elementary analysis, including PGA analysis. But until now, we prioritized gold far assay for gold, and then in next phase with more cash, we are going to send to those analysis.
Okay. Couple other questions that have come in. And I know, Doug, you mentioned that there's a highway going through the project there. Once you're off that, is there a network of dirt roads or anything on the property, or how's the access once you're off that highway?
Oh, actually, I can answer that one. So Pedra Branca is what we call a caatinga type of vegetation. So there's not a lot of rain that go into that region, and so it's very dry, a lot of rocks. So you can the way that our team has been doing to access the sites, you just take a truck, go off the highway, you drive on the road, and you kind of are making the road yourself. So there are some access roads around, but you don't. You can pretty much drive on the. It's kind of a desert area. Okay.
And then I guess the last one on Pedra Branca, before I'll ask a question on Big Kid. Are there, I guess, what's the opportunity like to acquire additional land around the project? You know, if you do want to do that, is that possible in the future?
You're talking about Big Kid or Pedra Branca? Sorry.
Pedra Branca.
Oh, yes. Around it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think yeah, there's some potential. We actually look at the there's some potential, but our land package is very large as it is. So I mean, 39,000 hectares. We can be even if we're a large company, we can be many years busy with 39,000 hectares. So and the trend that we have right now, the mineralization trend is 40 kilometers. So the one that we are able to identify, the regional trend, is 40 kilometers. So there's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of land to work with.
Mm-hmm. And I think I'm trying to think back to the map you showed, and that was pretty much roughly in the middle of that land package, isn't it? It's pretty.
Yeah, and it's a small portion. We're talking like one of the targets there are 500 meters. So out of the 40 kilometers, we're focusing on we're actually focusing on 10 kilometers of that, 10 to 12 kilometers of the 40 kilometers trend. Yeah. And the reason why we're doing that, it's what I said, is about being cash efficient. So yes, it is nice to go out there to put drill rigs in other places and find new mineralization, but what we have to do is grow the story as it is. So we got to grow Pedra Branca by what I have to tell us. So there is a step-by-step you do it. So the best way that we could find is to actually drill around the past discoveries, and that's what we're going to keep doing.
Okay. So another question came in asking about, I guess, what your current cash balance is, and looking forward, will you potentially issue flow-through shares for the Canadian project for Big Kid? If you
There is potential for that. So our current cash balance is we're actually closing the numbers as it is. So we should be putting out the Q4 and the Q1 as expected. But we are going to be we're on budget for the phase 1 exploration program. So with the $1 million, we actually it's $1 million US. So I can give you some numbers. Last year we raised about 1.7 million Canadian dollars. Okay, and out of that, we got to spend $1 million US to earn in Pedra Branca, and we're being very focused on that. So we're not spending cash on where we not have to spend. Okay, so we're okay, but we are expected to raise for the second phase of Pedra Branca as we deliver the 1401, as we deliver the earn-in. So we're gonna see our options. Okay.
Sounds good. Okay, so I think we're getting through all the questions. Maybe you could just sum up by kind of outlining and reminding the viewers what the key catalysts are for the near term.
Sure. It's so for South Atlantic Gold and for Pedra Branca, which is an asset that I believe makes complete sense for us. Stay on the lookout for, again, as I said, our current market cap. And as we progress with Pedra Branca and basically bringing what's been filed there with the mining agency of Brazil. I mean, people know how hard it is to get to a mining concession in Brazil. We already have that. So what effectively we have to do in the next little while here is to get what's there, bring into a 43-101 compliance level, and add more high density drilling to it, add more extensions and potentials to Pedra Branca. So, and I think we're going to be able to achieve very, very good results with a simple $1 million program.
Great. So with that, I'd like to thank Doug and Marcelo from South Atlantic Gold for taking the time to host this webinar today with Red Cloud Securities. I'd like to thank everybody on the line for tuning in with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And just a reminder that our next webinar will feature Visionary Gold Corp Monday, March 1st at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.